Yeah, I
Uh,
think that the office becomes this, even virtually becomes a sanctuary of power and control. Whether fair or unfair, that can be transferred to the leader's shoulders, where he or she, it's their office. It's a place of power. And I think, you know, we would be well served to practice positivity at a leadership level. Now, the flip side of that is leaders have a lot of responsibility. A CFO is not going to go down to an individual accountant and say, how come our balance sheet's out of whack? They're going to go to that person's manager. And so that manager will feel that stress and start to drive, the change. Hey, we can't make mistakes. And those messages are probably warranted and valid. Now, if you take that manager who's coaching, they'll receive that message more openly, transparently. If you have a manager who's not spending time, not calling people into the office for the good stuff, that will come off exceedingly punitive. May not be their intention. And that's where I think messages get lost. And so I think that the office can be a place of power. So we often tell leaders all the time, go out, go out in the cubicles, set up times virtually, and just talk to your people. What's going well? Stay away from negative talk. Because what we tend to do is, because we hear the time barrier example all the time. Well, I don't have a lot of time. I got to fix things. Well, one, you don't fix people. Number two, if you're always having conversations with your employees around problems, the relationship will become problematic. You focus on where they want to go and what they're enjoying, what they like, and what you could do to better serve them. They'll start coming in your office a lot more. Most don't. The number one reason that people quit companies today is their manager. I don't think that's always accurate, yet we have a responsibility as individual contributors to give our leaders an opportunity to give us feedback, strength-wise, strength-based, positive, as well as the areas where we need to improve. If we don't do that, we tend to get into this dismissive mode of what I'll accept and what I won't accept. And I think probably one of the best stories was a gentleman on a shop floor who was very upset. And we're in all company, and they did 12 months of coachable minds, and we were talking about the end of the year review. And he said, well, you don't know what it's like. And I said, what's that? And he, by the way, HR group in the room, C-level suite in the room, everybody in the company in the room. There's about 150 people at this shift. And he said, you don't know what it's like to work for a 2% annual raise every single year. And he goes on, he's using expletives, he's swearing, he's criticizing the company. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't think you realize how much this is hurting you. And he just went on and on. And when he got done, I said, are you done? He said, yeah. I said, the answer is no. He said, what do you mean the answer is no? I said, you asked me a question. I'm answering you. The answer is no. So I don't even know what you're talking about. I said, well, let's slow down. You asked me if I knew what it was like. The answer is I don't know what it's like. I don't give a company that control. Evidently you do. And plus, you don't seem like you can follow a conversation. I think I know why that you're not getting more than a 2% raise. I said, how mad are you? And I played along with him, and he's actually an awesome guy. And finally, I got him to realize in that moment in front of 150 people, he was revealing himself. So I used it opportunistically. I said, strength wise, I give you a lot of credit for speaking up in front of the group. You're probably sharing things everybody or some people in this room might be thinking. That's awesome. So I want you to think about what you're willing to change. Don't answer for 90 seconds. I want you to think about your boys that you just brought up and how they might be proud of you if you got a certification or maybe a bigger raise and you really turn things around based on your own frustration. How do you think your three kids would feel about you? Don't answer. So I use something, reflective coaching. And in the moment, you could see his anger dissipate. Then when we got to the end of the 90 seconds, I said, now calmly walk me through what's, going through your mind. He said, my kids would be proud of me. Tone was different. Attitude was different. Now, did I cure his attitude? Did I fix him? No. In that moment, I used some coaching to get him to create a coachable mind. And then he ended up going through a 12-month, leadership coaching program, ended up just getting promoted. And he really looked in the mirror. In that moment, He was so frustrated, his emotions became his brand. Talented, did a great job, didn't work well with others, was angry. So one of the first things he had to do is resurrect his relationship with his coworkers. He said, I'm trying to do this stuff that, they're really resistant. I said, where do you think the resistance comes from? He said, probably me. And I said, I would take the word probably out. He said, yeah, me. And I said, yeah, I've done it too. We all do it. If we stop what we're doing, do you think it'll solve it, address it? Or do you think if we continue, we'll get there? He said, we obviously have to continue. It took him almost 12 months to get there. 12 months of really practicing where people would trust he's now a good teammate. He's considered, he's plausible, he's open, he's transparent, he's receptive to feedback. In the first couple of months, I thought he was going to bite his tongue off because he hated it. And I said, so what did that teach you about how you were listening to people before? He said, I wasn't listening. I just turned people out. Here's a guy who's on the shop floor on his feet all day, working hard, just became a supervisor, but it took him 12 months, he said, to be comfortable listening to things he didn't want to hear. And that's actually a pretty fast 12 months. He was willing. Now, what did I bring into it? Money and his kids, which are emotional attachments to change.